Thank you so much for coming, and I'm going to turn it over to Ray Willard.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. Thanks. Whoops. What happened to the slides? Go back to, Michael, we're going back to Alexis's slides. She's got them. She's got my slides. Thanks. So, yeah, there you go. This is where we were last year this time, over there in Wenatchee. So this is really exciting for me. This has been kind of an interesting journey this whole year. You guys, I'm sure everyone has their own story about this time going forward, but it's really obviously very historic day. We're in the middle of unprecedented times here, and yet here we are at the WEED conference again, and this is the 70th annual WEED conference, which is really amazing and cool for our state to have that long standing in terms of a group of people dedicated to just really doing a good job of managing the land here in Washington. And so hats off to everybody who's on here. We've got over 700 people now have joined us. So this is really exciting. And it really made a lot of sense to try and do this as a group and to offer it as a free event this year. So I really welcome to everybody who's able to join us. And we had over 1,100 people sign up altogether. So I'm sure people will be jumping in and out throughout the sessions. And but welcome to everybody. And so just kind of thinking back a little bit about what has brought us here, both the groups that are helping put this conference together, both the Washington Vegetation Management Association is now the name of that organization that puts on the WEED conference every year. And then the Washington Invasive Species Council, which is a government, it's a legislative body within state government that's managed through the Recreation Conservation Office. And we have membership from all of the state land management agencies and federal, tribal, local nonprofits. It's a really great group of people dedicated to trying to understand all of the issues facing us in our state as far as invasive species go. Put that together with the WEED conference, and I've been going to the WEED conference. My first WEED conference was in 1992. So I've been a member for a long time. I love this event. Yakima and then Wenatchee, both wonderful places to be able to visit and explore on an annual basis in November. And so it's been great for me. I was actually president of the association in 2000, which was the 50th anniversary of the organization at that time. And here we are 20 years later. It's amazing. And you'll hear from Jim Mallett, who's the current president this year. He'll be hosting us tomorrow. And we'll have basically, go ahead and flip through the slides, Alexis. I just wanted to kind of remind everybody what we've been and where we've been. And this is not the first time that we've partnered together between invasive species and the Washington WEED conference. So just Justin here a couple of years ago talking about what was going on then with our organizations. And then the next slide. I mean, really some of the great people that we've had as part of our organization that have taught us things in the past, Tim Miller, Marty Hudson here, and Mr. Hansen there, Mark Hansen from the industry. We just have a great group of people, and you saw the slide of all the sponsors. This is an amazing network of folks that we have working on this. And sorry, my cat is just really banging at the door, so I'm just gonna open it. So one of the fun things about working at home, I'm sure everyone's get to experience this. Anyway, it's been a really interesting experience since we were there last year and then this couple years ago. Next slide. I just want to encourage you, we will get back to Wenatchee next year, and I didn't know, I just want to throw this in here just to remind us about the beauty of the world that we don't get to see as much these days. But Saddle Mountain in Wenatchee is a great little hike, and everyone should do that when you're over there. So next slide. You can see it's just out of town. Here's Steve Manning. Some of you might remember a couple of years ago, we had Steve Manning from Nashville come out and talk about his work with the invasive plant control and his amazing work back there. And took him up the mountain there. You can see the whole city from up there, and you can do this in the morning before the conference starts. So I highly recommend it. Next slide. So you can just, we'll get back there to Wenatchee, and I really look forward to being in the same room together. We've got 750 people on right now. Imagine if we were all in the room together right now as a group, how different that would be. So strange times indeed. We've got a bright future ahead of us nonetheless, and we'll be hearing from a lot of great speakers. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Alexis. So I'm sure you've all have perused the agenda and seen what we've got to offer this year. One of the advantages of doing a session remotely like this is we can bring in speakers from around the country and around the world if we want to. And that's one thing that we will take away from this time in terms of lessons moving forward, is we can communicate like this, and we can have conferences like this that would be, some virtual and some in person. And we will come back to a new normal at some point here, hopefully next year. We'll be closing in on that. So we'll look forward to seeing you then. But for this year, here's the agenda, and you can see what we have is the first day and the last day are focused on the sort of big picture things that the Invasive Species Council is involved with. And a lot of the issues we're watching are not vegetation related. They can be pest bugs, they can be fish, they can be all kinds of different organisms and pathogens. So really trying to look at anything that is a threat to the native ecosystems and what we've come accustomed to having here in our state as far as a beautiful place to live. So that's really what we're all about here, is trying to make sure that we're all aware of each other's work as we go through this journey together. We really are the environmental stewards, that we're setting the bar for the state as far as, what we need to do to take care of this place. So I just commend you all for being here and being a part of this. I love this network of people. It feels like a family to me within the state, and I really appreciate those of you also from Oregon and Idaho that are joining us here. We have quite a few people from the other states, so welcome to you as well. As a region, we have one of the best places in the whole world to live and to work, and to be able to work outdoors and work on the stuff that really, affects the future of our land here in Washington. That's a great honor and a privilege, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. So with that said, you can see we'll get into more of the technical stuff on days Wednesday and Thursday, and those would be more of the traditional sessions that you'd see during a typical weed conference. So we'll look for feedback from you. We'll have a chance to do evaluations. So just so you know, some people may be only attending for one day. And if you are just attending for one day, be sure and fill out. You'll have a chance at the end of the day to respond to the survey and evaluate the conference and give us some feedback on how we could do this in the future. So that chance will be there. But again, we just need one response from everybody. And if you're not watching in person, if you're not watching on your own device, if you're watching in a group, there will also be a follow-up email. And I assume everybody, even if you're not watching, even if you're not signed in and watching, if you were supposed to register for the conference. So be sure and register for the conference, whether you're going to sign in and watch or not. And then you'll get an email at the end that will have some follow-up information and let you know where we'll have the presentations posted in the future. So that'll be explained there. And then you'll have a chance to respond to the survey and evaluation at that point too, as part of that email chain. So with all that said, I think we're doing just fine on time. We're a little bit ahead of time, in fact. And we're going to just kind of, it's nice to not have to rush through this. So we can take our time. We don't really have any breaks built in throughout the meeting, but we'll be able to, if you need to go away for a second, just make sure and stay close enough to hear if we do jump into a roll call. You don't want to miss that. But really the expectation is that you would watch for any one of the days for the 3 credits that'll be available for Washington. I think we have different credit awards for Oregon and Idaho, but for Washington, we're getting 3 credits a day, and you can get just one day's credit, or you can get all 4 days. So Any questions or anything, feel free to let us know through the chat box on the sidebar that you've got up with GoToWebinar. Make sure and distinguish between chat and questions. It's in the questions panel that we'll want to have you respond to the roll call. That if you do have any kind of questions for the group, we will be monitoring that in the chat box. And so as those come in, Justin and I today will be, and Alexis will be looking at those, and then we'll have a period for Q&A at the end of the day with all of our speakers available to answer questions at that time. So I see there are some comments and questions coming through, but we'll take care of that. With this, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Justin Bush now to kick us off with the first presentation on the invasive species control strategy that we've adopted as part of the Washington Invasive Species Council in the interest of the whole state. So Justin, welcome and take it away.